We're back.
Excellent.
Jay,
Welcome, everybody, to
put your hand somewhere
the
over there.
second session of
Get you
our
something.
virtual summit. Uh, we are really happy about this group of great folks. But for those of you who are just popping by, first, uh, if you can have cameras on as much as possible, it's great to see faces when you are doing this, so you know that people are watching and engaging and such things. Microphones off unless you're speaking. We will certainly have opportunities for people to chime in. Definitely use the chat function, and you can switch your names over so you add your organization to your names. If you have questions, comments, put them in the chat. You could put them directly to everybody, or you could put them to me, Brianna, or Ami. And yeah, we hope to see you tomorrow and Wednesday as well. So with that, I will pass things over to Najauna, to your panel.
Hey, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I came on a little bit late, 15 minutes late. So before I kick off, I don't know if Ronnie told everyone it was his birthday today. Did he?
I
Okay.
did not, but Camille
Okay.
gave me a birthday present by saying I was the most interesting person in the room in the
Okay,
first session.
good.
So
So,
that
okay, so
was nice.
everyone, it is Ronnie's birthday today. So, thank you for hosting us here on your birthday and just giving us a space and a moment to talk. I'm going to kick it off to David Kemp soon, but this panel today is on inclusive destination marketing. And so, as we kind of go into this panel and set it up, I want everyone to kind of keep in mind for yourself what that means, what this looks like. Ronnie said a great comment earlier, and so it reminded me of kind of like when people think about destination marketing, what comes to mind? And a lot of times it's the fact that our organizations and the work that we do not only reflect, but are a mix of reflecting and engaging with the communities that we're in and the communities that we're served. But Ronnie said a quote earlier that I want to mention of like, but who's really doing the storytelling? And so as we go through this panel, that's what we really want to talk about of, how these destinations are doing the storytelling, what's important to them, what they're emphasizing, and really how they focus on the people. So the representation, the voices. I know authenticity is a buzzword, but it's actually really important to the work that we do. So we will continue to focus on that today. So I'll kick it over to David, and then we'll introduce the rest of our panelists.
I'll cut in quickly to say thank you to David, Renee, and Explore Brookhaven for sponsoring the whole virtual summit and particularly this session. And David,
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Can you hear me?
we can.
Oh, wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Kemp, and I am the Director of City Center Events and International Sales for Explore Brookhaven. Explore Brookhaven is the destination marketing organization for the city of Brookhaven, and we're a little beautiful community 20 minutes north of downtown Atlanta, for those of you not familiar with us. Our mission statement is to work with all members of our community to enhance the image, awareness, and the magnetism of the city of Brookhaven. Our vision is that the city will be widely respected as a community in which everyone is welcome to enjoy the quality of life and the experiences that our residents do every day. Explore Brookhaven has conducted brand strategy initiative research in 2019, which included more than 700 interviews, surveys, and symposiums. The results of that effort was that Brookhaven is a very welcoming and inviting community, and that ultimately led to our tagline of Belong Here, which we're very proud of. We are so pleased to sponsor today's Inclusive Destination Marketing program. We hope you learn a lot from other DMOs across the country about enticing travelers of all identities and backgrounds to visit their destinations during today's session. I hope you will enjoy today's program. I'll turn it back over to Najauna to introduce the panel.
Thank you so much. So we have some lovely panelists here today. I'm actually going to have each of them introduce themselves as we go through this journey. And like I said, I gave you kind of a definition of inclusive marketing, but want to hear from each of them on really introducing yourself briefly and telling us what does inclusive destination marketing mean to you. So we're going to go ahead and start with Stacy.
Hi there. Thank you. I'm Stacy Ritter. I'm President and CEO of Visit Lauderdale. Visit Lauderdale is the destination marketing organization for Broward County, which is a county of 2 million people in southern Florida. Thankfully, we are not in the cone of Hurricane Milton, so I can be with you today because we're breathing a little sigh of relief as we continue to hold our breath for those people on the West Coast, especially Tampa. So I've been at this job for about 8.5 years, and I did not come from tourism. I came from elected officialness, dumb, whatever, and dumb probably the operative word there, and wanted to rebrand the destination to be a more inclusive feel. Broward County is, as I said, 2 million people. We are a majority minority county, about a third Black, third Hispanic, and a third white. So it was very important that, and as the gay capital of the state of Florida, and always in the top 10 worldwide for LGBTQ plus friendly destinations, I really wanted to make sure that reached through to people who may not know who we are, and also to the people who live here. So, you want me to go on or you want me to stop?
Oh, I think that's perfect.
Okay,
That's good. That was good.
I'm done.
Okay, do you want to kick it off to your next panelist, maybe your colleague, your
Is
teammate?
Nikki on? I know she was
Yeah,
having.
she is.
is,
She's
she
right
is.
next to you on my screen. Nikki,
So
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna, oh, okay, I'm gonna kick it off to Neki Mohan, who's our Senior Vice President of Multicultural and Business Development. I know that's not exactly her title, but I never remember people's titles in Visit Lauderdale, except for mine.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kick it off to
As
Nikki.
long as you remember to deposit the check every 2 weeks, you can call me whatever.
All right, as long as we get paid, who the hell cares what we're called, right?
As long as you're not making her late for dinner.
That's
And
right.
happy birthday, Ronnie. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah. Happy
30
birthday.
again.
Ron. Thank you, Stacy. My name is Neki Mohan. Again, as I work with Stacy at Visit Lauderdale, VP of Multicultural Business and Community Engagement. I have been here almost 3 years doing the work here at Visit Lauderdale. I came from a 30-year career in broadcast journalism, 20 of them here in South Florida. So storytelling is where I thrive. And coming into Visit Lauderdale at the time that I did, we had to really work on controlling our narrative. At the time when a lot of people from outside the state were looking at the state as not welcoming, we had to up the ante on how do we show them it's who we really are. You heard Stacy say the breakdown of our destination. So what does inclusive marketing mean to me? It means telling our story as loud as we can, everywhere, all the time. And also by tourism being the economic engine for the state, making sure that the money and the economic wealth is shared among the different economic groups and that they have access. And so it is my privilege to do this work, and I'm happy to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nikki and I have had many of conversations, I think, over the last couple of years about what this work looks like from a destination perspective, but also from an industry perspective. So I'm so glad that she's on this panel with me as well. And last but certainly not least, we are going to kick it over to Lauren.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Bruggemans, and I'm the Director of Sustainability and Community Engagement at Visit Greater Palm Springs. I've been in this newly created role for about 2.5 years now, so maybe can't call it newly created anymore, but I oversee our strategy and projects on sustainability, DEI, accessibility, workforce development, and youth engagement. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Greater Palm Springs is located in the Coachella Valley region in Southern California. We're a regional DMO comprised of 9 cities. For us, it was really about, we had to do the work of defining what inclusive marketing meant to us, and we really wanted it to be holistic. We wanted it to be intersectional and really focused on action and impact for our community. We have a really diverse community, and we wanted to highlight the contributions of our Indigenous folks and LGBTQ plus community, Latino and Black communities, to really, again, showcase and highlight the diversity. And, to use that word again, to ensure that our marketing was authentic and the voices of those communities were reflected in the marketing efforts.
Thank you so much. So now that we have all of our panelists and David's going to join us on the panel lineup again, I wanted to kind of kick it off with a question just about the work. And so, each of you kind of described your journey at your organization and where you were before that. And sometimes, depending on where you are in your journey, you're trying to figure out, how do I just get this started? So whether I'm new or I've been here for a while, maybe you're seeing things a little bit differently and you're trying to figure out how you slightly make that change within your organization. So starting with you, kind of, David, what does getting change started look like in your organization?
Uh, well, Explore Brookhaven as a city is relatively young. We're about 12 years old. The CVB, Explore Brookhaven, has been around for 5 years. So again, we're a young organization. So I joined the team here about 5 months ago, and because I have 40 something years in the hospitality industry, more than I care to talk about, I have extensive experience in sales. So I have picked up the phone and called every conceivable market segment you can imagine to get them to either come to Domestic Showcase or visit the South and eat our barbecue and drink our bourbon and listen to our tunes. So I am very in tune to inclusiveness. Everybody's important. Every job is important. Every person's important. And so it's always been my experience. Do like my mother taught me, treat everybody with respect. And hopefully we can make a little money along the way. My efforts here at Explore Brookhaven has really been to be the face of Brookhaven, to get our message out there. Now that we have a salesperson with feet on the ground, I can get out there and communicate what belong here, our tagline really means. So I'm very proud to be a part of Explore Brookhaven, and have enjoyed my 40 plus years in the hospitality business, and hopefully I'll have another 10 more.
Love it. You shared that you were there for 5 months, and I think that's perfect, kind of using your 5 months journey. And now Stacy talking about your 8-year journey in the organization. How did you get it started? What did this look like for you? And what has changed in that kind of 8 years as well, especially with addition of Nikki and, new things going on?
Thank you. It's been quite a journey. We are a government agency, first of all, 100% government. We don't contract with the government. We are government employees. So first of all, having to deal with government red tape, which is in fact a real thing, has made the struggle a little harder because there are so many different rules that we have to abide by. In addition, we're in the state of Florida. And I don't know if any of you have been reading any of the press out of the state of Florida, but the headlines pretty much tell the story. So while we receive a lot of negative press, I'm the first one to admit that a lot of it is warranted. So, but certainly not where I live, of course. But we have had to figure out how to navigate through a bunch of state laws which tell us things we cannot do. So, for example, we cannot mandate DEI training. We can offer it, but it has to be strictly voluntary. So, and it was easier 8 years ago, but now it has gotten much harder. And but we decided that we're going to figure out what we can do, and we're going to just push that message. We do it boldly, we do it unafraid, and we recognize that these are fearful times for people, depending on where you live. But we are going to do it because it is the right thing to do. We are a values-led organization. And that has been, I think, that my evolution is I came to this position, as I said, 20 years in elected office. I came with certain values that were not traditional hospitality oriented. It wasn't about room night generation necessarily. It was about, how do we sell the destination? How do we generate those room nights without losing ourselves, with maintaining the values that we come to the table with that are so important to the people who live in Broward County? That's been the evolution. And I have to say that the team has done an amazing job. They've embraced the change in how the DMO is led from the way it was led before I got here. how the message is crafted to not only speak to the people who visit here, but the people who live here, because it is critically important that they understand tourism is the lifeblood of the economy here. So in our rebranding efforts, we changed our tagline to everyone under the sun, because everyone under the sun visits here. We are a destination where people from all over the world come, but equally important, maybe even more importantly, we are a destination where everyone under the sun lives here. We are represented by 170 nations in Broward County, speaking 148 languages. It was really important that the people in Broward County see themselves in what we do and embrace that message. And I think that's been the biggest evolution in how the DMO has been led. And I think that it has paid off, because we are experiencing, knock wood, really exceptional tourism numbers, which keep people employed. You know, I say our mission is to bring visitors here, but our calling is to keep people employed, because we saw what happened in 2020 when visitors stopped coming. So everything that we do is centered on making sure that people can feed their families and pay their bills and have the respect that work provides to us, the dignity of getting up every morning and recognizing that you've got a job to do and you're going to try to make the world a better place.
Awesome, thank you. I'll give the same question to Nikki and Lauren as well, but you mentioned a great piece there, Stacy, about value. And that's something that we talk to our clients about at Miles Partnership as well, is that whatever your role is, there has to be value in what you're providing. And so, Nikki and Lauren, as you all kind of talk about your roles as well, more so into multicultural tourism and community development and sustainability, how do you kind of get started in that space, and what does that look like for you in those specific roles?
Yeah, thank you, Najauna. Well, when I came into this role, one of the things I noticed is that we didn't have anyone specifically going out into the Hispanic and the Latino market. They're 40% of our county. And they have, all these nuances, because we even just rolled out like a story for Hispanic Heritage Month. You can eat your way through South America in Broward County. You can literally go to every nation and go to a bodega and eat their food, or go to a little cafe. We're that diverse, and we need to be sending that message out, especially when we had Lionel Messi playing right here at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, even though the name of the team is Inter Miami. They came up here. So after you leave the stadium, then you can go to any of these places to have dinner. And to the little things like that, when you talk about connecting the business of tourism to our community, another big push in Visit Lauderdale is accessibility. We onboarded a group of differently abled special needs adults that make candles, and they're part of our marketing packages to our high-end clients. They are actually, the two started by two moms that wanted something for their children to do post-high school, and telling that story in our gifts was so important, because they're using the money from what they do to build special housing, special assisted housing, so that when their parents are no longer here, there's somewhere for them to go. So using what we do and how we do what we do to include the community, but at the same time, when you come here as a visitor and you see this, you're like, wow, they really care about their community. So making sure that we, again, as Stacy said, that we connect with what we do by bringing the people here, but connecting them to the people who live here and benefit, because everybody feels better about spending a dollar when they know that dollar is going into the pockets of the people that really, really, really need it and are really going to get the biggest value from it.
Love it. Lauren, pockets of the people, how do you feel about that around sustainability as well?
Sure. I mean, I think it was when I started this role, I don't come from a DMO background. I come from a hospitality background. So it was really trying to find out where we could be of service to our community and how we could activate the values of DEI and sustainability from the lens of hospitality and tourism. And I was very fortunate to come into a team that had already been doing the work. And it had started before 2020. 2020 was obviously a flashpoint for a lot of folks and a lot of organizations. But we didn't just want to kind of post a black square on Instagram and call it a day. We wanted to be really intentional and reflective about our next steps. So part of that was hiring me, right? Investing in a director level position to move forward the work, because folks in our organization had already been doing the work. And I was really glad that there was a recognition that we didn't want to add anything more onto everybody else, even though it's all our responsibilities to ensure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is in all of our departments. I think this director level investment was really critical. We established a DEI committee. We integrated DEI and community focused values into our core values. And then we, developed frameworks and standard operating procedures to ensure that DEI was in all of the pieces of our organization again, that it was in a marketing and branding SOP, and that those words were clear and that path was clear as well. So again, that's also for longevity, for that lives beyond the team that is here now. And I'd also really like to acknowledge that we are very fortunate to be in the area that we're in. We have an extremely diverse community, a really robust LGBTQ plus population. California has codified the rights of our LGBTQ plus population as well, which is, we know that's very different. But what I always say to our team is that even though we have all these rights codified and this great spirit of inclusivity here, it's our job as stewards of this industry to ensure that those values continue to live on, and that's reflected in our marketing. So when folks come here, they feel there's a matchup, between what they're seeing in the marketing and then what's happening in the destination.
Awesome. Thank you. You and Nikki mentioned some comments, the last two, that I want to make sure that I highlight, but both your roles were added to your organization so that there can be a distinct focus on these communities. I think sometimes when we look at destination, inclusive destination marketing, that's what people forget. But the other part of it is that sometimes there are organizations that are small, they do not have the budgets and they don't have the diversity on their teams to actually add those roles. But you can still have focus on that. So, starting with you, Lauren, what does sustainability look like in your community? Even if someone doesn't have a role like you, how can they connect and build that relationship with their community through campaigns, through marketing, but making sure sustainability is the focus?
It really is about building relationships, right? I think that's where the authenticity comes in. We can't just say we're going to feature a community after knowing no one in the community and not spending the time to get to know them. So, for us, sustainability is really about community, about showing up, about making investments, investing in, again, this is kind of money focused, but, sponsoring community events. But it could even just be attending, for example, our Black Chamber of Commerce. They have a monthly mixer and we attend that. Someone from our team is always there. We have a Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Being a part of community is again really building those relationships. With our Indigenous community as well, we have really strong relationships with the Director of Public Relations, who is vetting the stories we're telling, and we're always running that by her. So to ensure that it's the story that the tribe wants to tell. So again, sustainability is about truly caring about this, about other groups and saying how can we work together side by side, and how can we show up for each other.
Nikki, would you agree? Do you think that you feel the same way about kind of your role in the community work?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have 50 people that work here, and we do belong to probably all the chambers. And I'm glad you brought up the Native American community, because we do have a big Seminole community. In fact, when we did our Rose Parade, we made sure we highlighted the Native American community here in our county as well, and we have good relationships with them. But when you do marketing and you market a county, and we have 31 municipalities in Broward County, we're bigger than 11 states in the United States, our economic value. We have to really be connected to those communities, and like you said, relationships and attending their events and being aware of it. Even as simple as something as when I first got in this role, I said, well, I know there's a marketing team in every city. So as a reporter, I had to talk to them on that end So let me reach out to them and let them know I'm in this role. And if there's anything I can do to support or what they need. There are some communities in our community that don't want tourists. They're like, we have our local events for our events, so we really don't want you advertising them. But we
Right.
had to, listen to them and hear them out and let them give us that message. Because instead of just saying, oh, let me just take their events off their page and publicize it. They don't want, they want to keep it for their community so they can support their communities in that respect. So again, it is relationships, it is conversations, it is knowing there's a two-way street. I had another community email me today saying, hey, your stuff is outdated on your site. This has changed, So we're like glad. We're like, hey, thanks for reaching out. We can't possibly be everywhere at every time, but we do try to do as much in our community. And we've seen the payoff and the benefits of that, especially when groups come to town and they're like, we want to do a service, you go, we want to do something in your community. We can vouch for the resources, and it helps to be able just to pick up the phone and get stuff done because, we are a big part of our community and it helps to be connected.
Yeah, so you took a little bit of David's method there and got on the phone with people and calling them up, which I think is important as well. Is that as we continue to build relationships, it is also that visibility. It's people being able to see you, to hear you, to understand, the work that you're doing. So as we move into kind of like our next question, what comes up a lot in this work, and Ronnie kind of mentioned this earlier a little bit about some challenges that we see externally. I know that Stacy mentioned, hey, we're in Florida, so, there's that kind of connotation. But as you all are working and you're out there in your communities and you're having these tough conversations about inclusive marketing and the campaigns that you're doing, why they're great or why they need work, what are you seeing and feeling is the biggest misconception and pitfalls to this work? David, I'll kind of start with you.
We are very much like so many destination marketing organizations out there. We're very small. We have a staff of 6 people. And so budget's always a challenge. Responsibilities are a challenge. So the first thing we did was collectively decide to wrap around our mission, our vision statement, and we created some office norms, one of those being we are Brookhaven. So all of us are on the same page. We're all speaking the same language. We all have the right direction. And then it's a matter of dividing, conquering market segments. And so myself, one-on-one, get out there in the community. I've joined out Georgia to represent us in the LGBTQ plus market. I'm doing the film industry, I'm doing family reunions, I'm doing weddings, and I'm building a building. So it's a lot, but I think staying focused, staying connected, being out there, the reception I have received in our community and across Atlanta, very positive, because we've always been known as a welcoming community. I spread that message, and we get a lot of support because we're on track and we have a positive message that you do belong in Brookhaven.
Awesome. Anybody else want to kind of answer to that? I know there's tons of misconceptions, especially when a brand starts to really focus on like inclusive marketing for the first time, and the talent is different, the language is different, where they market is different, and sometimes you have both community members and travelers who don't accept that. So Nikki and Lauren, what are your biggest misconceptions, and what are the biggest challenges that you see as well?
Najauna, we've been really fortunate. I mean, we are a very, very diverse community, but I will tell you that when you're working with big marketing companies that haven't diversified on their senior levels, when they now have to dive into inclusive marketing, it is terrifying. Nobody wants to say the wrong thing. How do you have open and honest, courageous conversations? There are so many. I'm always admit, I don't know anything about this. Explain it to me,
Yeah.
And I think that we have seen some just definitely be fearful of how to tackle it. But this is the beginning of a conversation. Nobody's going to know everything about everybody. So creating a safe space where dialogue can happen and where people feel they can express themselves honestly, that is always the challenge. you know? And as you heard Stacey say, in some states, they can't mandate DEI or whatever. It's just, how do we tell stories that unify us, but that also make us feel comfortable enough to have the uncomfortable conversations with, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Doesn't mean you have to be offensive or offended. So that, I think, is the greatest challenge when it's new to some people, and it's new, but that's what it's about. It's about opening up and making things more accessible and opening up conversations. But, you know, we're all trying to get to the same place and do the same thing. So, you know, that, I think the challenge is getting people to get out of their comfort zone.
Love that. Lauren, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's, and this comes from Ronnie. I'm not going to take his words here, and he's helped me kind of really think through this, but that DEI, that those three letters, that terminology isn't what's important, right? That's an internal strategic framework. So what is important is being resilient and adaptable to your stakeholders and the needs of your community. That you can still do the work, because that's what's most important, but you can call it culture and heritage, or you can call it culture and community, or you can call it social impact, or you can call it inclusion. But what is important is actually activating the work. And, you know, I think for a lot of our stakeholders too, I think in a bit of a down economy, is to make the business case, to share the data and research again, that visitors want to go to places that align with their values. They want to experience local culture. They want to connect with cultural traditions. So again, reminding our stakeholders that the work that we do in the community engagement department is important to the mission as well.
Yeah.
That sustainability is important to the mission as well. And that is what I'm guided by, is being of service to my team, but being of service to the needs of my community, regardless what the work is called, regardless if it's called DEI or something else.
Yes, I love that. I was just on a panel. We talked about that ourselves. The question that they said was, that they had for me was, are you impacted by the letters changing? And I'm like, the letters can change all they want. The work doesn't change. It doesn't matter if you put E before D, if you want to add the A, if you want to add S for sustainability, whatever you want to add, we have to get it done. And so that's what's important. Lauren, you brought up an interesting point though, which we hear often, I think, especially in this industry of diverse work, is that people want to travel somewhere where they feel engaged, where they feel welcome, where they feel valued. But oftentimes we see that, you know, whether it's news or trends, but there are travel bans depending on what your destination is doing and what you're not doing. And so would love to hear from everyone's perspective, is that, you know, when you're looking at leisure travelers, business travelers coming to your destination, how do you make sure that those people are reflected in your community, that those people are reflected in your advertising? Whoever would love to answer first.
I can start. I think it's doing the work of defining what that means to your community, to your organization, right?
Yeah.
Defining what DEI means to you, or what equity or inclusion or diversity or diverse marketing means, and then activating that in your marketing campaigns. And for us, it was about intersectionality, right? We could go that step beyond here, because we already had this really wonderful base of being a really inclusive community. But for us, it meant showcasing folks that had different identities. You know, if we're looking at, let's say, our LGBTQ marketing, it was showing folks that were, you know, that are lesbian or gay, or that are families, or to show a Black gay person, to show, you know, Latino trans folks, right? To show that there's a real, again, intersectionality and layered kind of approach to what we wanted to showcase. Because we also realized you can't see yourself in a place until you see yourself. You know, I talk about that. I'm multiracial. My dad was Belgian, my mom's Hawaiian Filipino. And I remember seeing that Cheerios commercial where there was a multiracial family featured. And I felt for the first time that there was a family that looked like mine that was on TV in this really broad way. And it really made me feel seen. And I see that a lot more now. And I'm really proud that Visit Greater Palm Springs showcases, multicultural families and friend groups in their marketing, because again, you feel seen. You can start to dream and feel like you belong in a place when you see yourself.
Absolutely. David, what do you think to that point of how do you show people that this is a community that they can travel to and feel welcome in?
Well, I've always been a proponent of photography. Pictures say 1,000 words. So if you're, unfortunately, we are again a small DMO, so we don't have a big fat advertising budget. But we do a couple things. We do include photography of diverse groups of people every single opportunity that we have the chance to. But the other thing you can do on a local level, we have a hotel partnership program where we work with our local 10 hotels that fund us. And so we work with them and we explain to them on a quarterly basis what our initiatives are, such as going after the World Cup soccer, the fact there's going to be 500,000 people headed to Atlanta from God knows how many countries. And so we're so thrilled and we're kind of losing our minds how we're going to do it. But we've done the Olympics, so we'll make it happen. But so that they're aware of what we're doing to market our community to this very diverse army of 500,000 people headed here. That's our boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think that, in addition to advertising, you really need to communicate what your marketing initiatives are in your local community and have buy-in.
Yeah, I love that. I'll tell a quick story before Nikki goes as well, but sometimes we have clients and when we work on their marketing campaign, just in the sense of if they work with our team and they work with our DEI team, we're going to make sure that there is inclusive talent and in a way that they could be inclusive naturally. So we don't want you to force a man and this person to create a family. Find a family that already identifies and let's let them be real in this space. But sometimes people don't think about that. And so there's this idea of, we'll reach out to the people in the community. That's what we always say. Hey, we are such and such. I think when I used to be on the DMO side, I remember nobody even knew what a CVB was. And we would tell them so many times, they couldn't figure out the acronym, what it is. Wait, are we with the government? Are we not? What does that look like? So let's invite them in. That's a great point of here are some things that we're doing and here's how you can be a part of it, because then you get a real feeling of what it's like to come to and be a part of this community.
Right. And to your point, every single public appearance I make, there's a lot of confusion out there in the market of what constitutes city government, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Convention Bureau. And we all have different names and different acronyms. So I begin all of my conversations explaining those three entities and how we fit together, and more importantly, how we work closely together.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki, what were you going to say? I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, no problem. I love hearing your stories. I think when we were branded as Visit Lauderdale, it made it a little easier because, visit, so it has to do with people visiting you. A CVB, they couldn't break down. But we've been doing similar to you, Najauna, is that our marketing, if you go on our pages, I mean, you can't tell who's a couple, who's not a couple. I mean, they're genuinely just people having fun in the destination. But we've done a lot of community outreach. Whether it's virtual, whether it's by holding sessions at the convention center or going to local community meetings and offering, hey, come talk to us, talk about how you can work with us.
Yeah.
Let's tell you a little bit more about what we do. We realized we needed to do a lot more out there. And I think that's paid off from us in a benefit space. I've got people coming up to me in the street. Oh, we're having a big church meeting. We just booked a huge church meeting here. They didn't know what we could do. And telling churches, hey, you need to let us, know what your event space is, what your meeting space, when we win, we all win. And I think that just explaining what we do and how we do it has been so beneficial to us.
I love that. The winning aspect, right? I think people don't often understand how tourism impacts them as just community members, right? And so housing taxes, or when you're like, man, I wish we can get some more food options over here. And then we start pouring in the tourists, and it's like, hey, let's build up some more experiences for people to enjoy. And Nikki, you mentioned that earlier of like, you can taste the world right here, which is really, I think some people don't understand that a lot of that is because of tourism and you know the way this all works. And so before we kind of wrap up and head into any Q&A, I wanted to ask you all you know, a last question of, you know, when you think about your favorite you know, inclusive campaigns, whether it's one of your own, someone else that you've seen, someone that's not in industry, what are some favorite campaigns that come up for you? And I don't know if I asked you this in advance, so I'll start. Um, so to give you all some time to think, but I love Target, right? And so if any of you have ever traveled with me to any conferences, I always stop at the local Target. I think the only place I haven't been to is Puerto Rico, Ronnie. But I always go to Target, and I'm like, ooh, what does this city Target? Like that tells me about your destination, like Target. Um, and sometimes when I watch the campaigns, you know, my husband always says, like, do not watch this and DEI it up, because he knows I'm gonna have a comment. But I really love to see families, especially like my husband and I, that are young and Black and having like joy. And so whether they're shopping and there could be chaos, their kids are running around, they do something, but they are finding like what they need, they're finding the joy and like the whole journey. And so those campaigns to me are great because they're very, like I said, that real. I know when I take my kids into Target, they are trying to grab all the things. They want all the things. Someone wants my phone. Someone wants to figure out how the headphones work. Someone, you know, we ride past the yogurt aisle. They're taking all the things, but there's so much joy in me strolling through Target in a red cart. I'm like getting excited about it, just telling you all. So when I see Target promote campaigns with real families, real situations, that like inspires me. And then I go there and I spend a bunch of money. So what are the campaigns that you all love? And what did they say to you? What is the reason why you love those inclusive campaigns? David, I'll start with you because you're off mute.
Uh, oh, uh, well, I would. Mine's going to be a little off, but Super Bowl commercials. I mean,
Yes, those are my
because
favorite.
you've got a captive audience, they make a concerted effort to have a variety of inclusive commercials, some explicit, some subtle. But it's helping pull in the country and expose them and educate them. And you get a variety of hilarious commercials that everybody's going to talk about on Monday, who won and who lost.
I agree. I love Super Bowl commercials. Some of them have not been my favorite over the years, but Super Bowl
Correct.
commercials are my favorite. Nikki, what about you?
Okay, so where you get joy in Target is the way I get joy in Dollar Tree. That is no longer a dollar. It's a
Yeah.
dollar $3 or $5. In fact,
Yes.
my Juneteenth collection of mugs is from Dollar Tree.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
but they're cards. They have cards in different languages now. I've even seen cards in Creole. 2 for $1. That's the only thing you can still get for $1 is the 2 for $1 cards. Other campaigns that have brought me joy. I think Delta has done a really good job with their campaigns, and they showcase at ColorCom, which is another communicate, and Chick-fil-A. Now,
Mm.
all of you know that Chick-fil-A is making a concerted effort in the LGBTQ community. You know, they have been making a concerted, very and really upsetting the traditional base of Chick-fil-A. They still will not open on Sunday, but
Yeah.
if you've tried their mac and cheese, you know they got some folks of color in the kitchen because their mac and cheese is the bomb.
Yes.
Those are just some of the ones that give me joy. But yes, Target is very expensive, Najauna.
I know.
But Dollar Tree is quickly going in that direction. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I tend to hide the bags from my husband. And then he's like, when did we get this? I'm like, remember a month ago? He doesn't know, so it's fine. Yes. Yeah, but I agree. I love the when I see anything in like different languages. So this morning I went to Bank of America to make a deposit, and the woman before me spoke Spanish because everything was in Spanish. And so I'm like it didn't even get to the point where the menu, I can change it. And I'm like, I know this stuff. Like I can tap into everything that I learned and tap into my Spanish. And I know Carla from my team is on the call. She would be so happy. I like did everything I needed to do in Spanish. I felt really proud of myself. But I think that those are the things that I love is like you can create an experience for more than one person. That is like a winning campaign for me. Lauren, what do you think about your campaigns?
Sure, I sort of mentioned the Cheerios one, and that was like really,
Yeah.
again, impactful for me personally. Because again, there was no call out that this
Yeah.
is about inclusivity. It was just a family having breakfast, but they just happened to be multicultural, which I thought was wonderful. And then I do think like an organization like Nike has had some really inspiring ads that are very intentionally supposed to they're talking about diversity, and they're calling it out, and there's sort of messaging and inspiring messaging about female athletes, or female athletes that are Muslim and they're wearing hijab in the ad as well, or highlighting accessibility. So I think there's kind of like those two lanes a bit of where it's just sort of part of the ad, and you just happen to see a multicultural cast, which is wonderful, and then also the really intentional sort of calling out of inclusion and how important it is, that I like.
Yeah, I love that. Almost like that hidden message behind the campaign. One that I saw this year, which was no campaign at all, but I wish they would have made it one. When you talked about athletes, it reminded me. But during the Olympics, this was like the first year that they've ever had space for nursing athletes. And I found that like just the wildest thing ever. Like, why is this the first time that that's ever happened
Yeah,
before?
because Allison Felix partnered with Nike to get it
Because
done.
Alex and Felix.
And
And that's
somehow
the thing that I
somebody
think about.
understands a woman can have a baby and still run a race and be an athlete.
Yes. And I think that's it. Like, anybody that's listening as people are listening and taking away this message, that is the component of inclusive marketing. Again, back to what Ronnie said earlier, who's telling the story really well, right? Each of us kind of listed these campaigns that have a personal sentiment. And I think that's what we need to think about when we think about inclusive marketing, even on the destination perspective. I know Stacey got off camera, but what's really important about her even being here on this panel is also having that executive buy-in, because sometimes they are there to support, encourage, to advocate the story and the messaging as well. And so I
100%.
think that, I want to open the space up for any Q&A, any questions from anyone. But, I would say a big takeaway is like when you're thinking about putting something together, don't think about just checking the boxes. What if you did not work for your organization, if you did not live there, what would this campaign say to you? How do you market? If you're getting on social, what are you saying? What is the tone? Are you reading the room? Like enough people don't even read the room in marketing, which I think is also important. And so, I want to say that piece of like, get someone on your team who is going to advocate and who is going to be there to support you, especially at the executive level. Make sure that your representation is there. Make sure that, if you can't start with something big, start with that small thing. And so many of you may have heard me say this before, but I sometimes think that accessibility is the gateway drug of DEI. And so if you need to start with something small, how do you optimize this campaign so that someone could experience it if they were visually impaired, if they were hearing impaired? Start there. How do you create efforts in your community that are sustainable and help everyone buy into that messaging together? I think that that's what inclusive marketing is about. And each of our panelists have shared their story as well. And so I want to make sure that you all keep in mind everything that everyone's saying, that inclusive marketing is about all of those stories, but also about storytelling. And how do we do that authentically? How do we do that effectively? And then how do we bring in other voices to help us share that messaging? So I want to open it up. Any questions, any feedback for our panelists, all the things? Ronnie, team, any questions that you're getting on your side?
Anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in chat, or yeah, certainly Najauna, whenever you want to welcome folks. I'm sure there are plenty of people with
Yes, please
perspectives on
open
this.
it up. Questions for our panelists, concerns? things that you're seeing, trends that you would love to talk about? We have a couple minutes left. Question in the chat from Vanessa. How do you strike a balance in your inclusive marketing strategies to ensure you're resonating with diverse audiences without inadvertently alienating or creating division among other groups of travelers? Nikki, I'll start with you.
Okay, so you caught me, I was reading the chat.
Oh, okay.
What is the question again?
So the question is, how do you strike a balance between ensuring that your marketing is resonating with audiences so they're diverse, but without alienating someone else? So for example, if you are doing a campaign, and I'm saying for example, even though it's not my question, so Vanessa, feel free to say like, that's not what I mean. But if you are specifically marketing towards someone, in the Latino community, how do you show a campaign that is great and that resonates without alienating everybody else who doesn't identify?
I mean, I think that, travelers, we're very fortunate, right? Travelers come to places to experience new things. We make sure, of course, that any marketing we're doing in that community, that we're very fortunate to have a very diverse staff to make sure that it goes through the right filters for people. But I think that all of our messages are just our brand, everyone under the sun. Everybody, we can all unite on music, food,
Yes.
that, I mean, right there, you say paella and everybody's in. You say, so I think that we have more in common than we have, than we're different. We can all unite on family. We can all unite on, we want to get a value for our dollar.
Yeah.
So say that, we don't tailor our marketing just for a group. We'll say, hey, travel through South America for Hispanic Heritage Month, but we'll you can get the right breakfast, the right breakfast burrito here. This is a value. This is that. We can all unite on. We don't want to spend too much money. We want to get value for our buck, and we want to get a right experience for our family. So we get one of the hardest places to get a reservation in Broward County is a place called Reina's Farm. It's a Brazilian woman that started her own restaurant in her backyard, and she does country cooking every weekend with a bunch of people from her Brazilian church. 2 years for a reservation. We couldn't get the New York Times writer a reservation because she is like, no food for you, wait in line, right?
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's the hottest spot to eat, and it's a Brazilian farm. Who knew?
Yeah.
We live downtown Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, I think that experience part is like, it really is. I'm from Boston. And so, I always tell people when people are like Boston and DEI and all this stuff, first of all, Meet Boston is doing some amazing things if you don't know there. But the other part of that is I always say, like, I'm from Boston, but music, food, and sports is like the unifier. So it doesn't matter what you look like, who you identify with, whatever it is, as long as you like the Celtics and not the Lakers, that is all that they care about. Like, that is the one thing that's going to make sure that we are in this together. David, what do you think? What do you think is a way to kind of, not alienate anybody else either on the other side in marketing?
Well, I think again, it's building consensus, being careful what unites us, what are, just staying away from opening a can of worms, because a lot of times you don't mean to, but you can open a big can of worms that gets you so deep in the hole you'll never get out. The things that unite us are family and food and fun and travel, and that's what our focus should be. And I think somebody asked pushback. It's just really important to listen when you're out in your community and you're sitting down with Chamber of Commerce members and you're sitting down with local restaurants and you're sitting down with local attractions. Listen to what their needs are and ask them what they think.
Yeah.
We're planning to do some marketing, and what do you think we should be doing, and who do you think we should be targeting, and that way they have some buy-in.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll let Lauren answer too. And I'll just say this one point in between that. Sometimes you cannot please everybody in your marketing.
Amen.
And that's also something that I think as an organization that you all have to have the conversations internally. Again, that's why that executive buy-in is important. That's why internal support and advocacy is important. because sometimes you're going to create a campaign just for a certain group of people and just for that audience. And someone's going to say, well, what about me? And it's like, well, this campaign isn't for you right now. This is for, we are marketing this Brazilian steakhouse. We are not marketing your burger joint right now. And so I think that that is something to keep in mind as well, is that not everyone is going to say they love it. But again, if you're selling an experience and you're asking questions to your community about that experience, that should tie it all in together. And Lauren, go ahead, I'll let you answer as well.
I agree with everyone on what's been said. I really just think it's about being resilient and adaptable, to the needs of your clients, your team, your stakeholders, your community, having a targeted approach, targeted approach according to different communities, perhaps, and different channels. I know that we have some marketing that's specifically for the LGBTQ community, right? That are in specific publications and channels, and that works for that community. And again, it's vetted by folks within our community, from that community. So, I mean, I think if you're doing the research, the data, and then you're kind of, course correcting as need be, and you're remaining, adaptable, I think you can kind of mitigate some of those pieces.
Love it. And then we have one more question before we wrap up, but from Justin. Can anyone share any high level strategies for mitigating DEI pushback? And so, we hear a lot of like, this is too woke. We don't like this. We don't want to handle DEI. And I think, Lauren, you mentioned your last point of being like targeted in your approach, which I think falls right back into the business case for DEI. So I'll start with you this time. What are some like high level 1-2 punch key takeaways for mitigating pushback against DEI?
I think we've kind of talked about it, but again, I think for a lot of folks, you just have to kind of drive it and connect it to business. And that, really keeping it very simple as well. The more folks we are welcoming and inclusive to, the more money we can all make. And then connecting that back to the message of tourism and hospitality is critical and essential to our community. And having these really simple messages about what DEI is, and like I've been just breaking it down for folks, and I think just even saying DEI is what triggers a lot of people. Just like, diversity isn't bad, is it? It's just this. Equity isn't bad, it's just this. Inclusion isn't bad, it's just this. So really simplifying the message, I think, in a time when we are flooded with divisive messages. Again, we've all said it, right? To focus on what unites us, and that to really celebrate the human experience that we are all a part of. That's what's most important in these times.
Can I get in on this one?
Yes, please.
I've let Nikki, I wanted Nikki to take the majority of this. It's her department. I'm sure that Visit Lauderdale has alienated people in how we push diversity, inclusivity, accessibility, but we don't care because there is a greater good here. And I know that people in tourism are it seems, well, and I can only speak for Florida, my colleagues here in Florida, they're hesitant to push that message for fear of alienating people. But we have to look ourselves in the mirror. We have to be who we are. And if we decide to shy away from uncomfortable conversations because we might hurt people's feelings or they may not come here, then who are we? Then what are we doing here in the first place? On the other hand, I walk around the office and I say, red state, blue state, your money's green. So, and so both of those, and they probably don't mesh well at all, but both of them are the philosophies that we bring to the table here. But at the end of the day, having uncomfortable conversations is the only way that we progress and we move people forward and we evolve into the people I think we want to be. So we're going to continue to do what we're doing, even though we recognize that there might be people in Oklahoma who don't like what we're doing. It just, because at the end of the day, you got to be true to who you are.
Sorry, I was saying love it. I was so excited. I think we're wrapping up. David and Nikki, I'll let you all finish. Ami's giving me a like a wrap it up look. Oh, okay. So okay. I thought she was like, wrap it up. Okay, so David and Nikki, I'll let you all add to that comment as well because I think Stacy said it beautifully. Like, we know we're gonna mess up, but we don't care. We gotta make sure we get it done and we gotta do it our way. So David, Nikki, last.
Well, it's been an honor to sponsor today's panel. We've got a bunch of smart, good-hearted people in this industry, and I think you saw examples of that. Thank you all for participating. Hope you learned some lessons. I hope you got some ideas. Some of us are big and have lots of money, and some of us are small and have no money, but every one of us can make a difference. That is something that we can all do. We can all make a difference. So it's been an honor to be here today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nikki.
And building on what David said, this weekend we're supposed to host the Black Travel Summit, and we're doing a welcoming message on behalf of us. And I've chosen to have one of our historians do it instead. And she said the story of Broward County is how people from all over learned to work together to get the trade started up in this county. Black people with Bahamians, with white people, with people from the north who came down to try and build this community into what it is today. And that's, and we honor that history, and we honor everyone that continues. I mean, we have new people coming here every day. So, building this community. So when people come here, we want them to be welcoming and understand why we are welcoming to everyone under the sun, because they live here, and we love showcasing them. And we really, really, really hope that people know that we're just a really, really special place.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you all for being here and having this conversation today. Like I said, I think the term and words in our industry, we are a jargon industry. We love our acronyms, our jargon, our phrases, but I think inclusive marketing is one that's continuing to grow, is continuing to be, I think, a curious aspect of marketing, I think, inside our industry and out. So thank you all for sharing your perspectives and being on this panel with us today. I will kick it back over to the Travel Unity team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Najauna. In the spirit of our friends from Mississippi, I do want to say that, whether you're in Tallahassee or Tulsa or Tupelo, there are certainly welcoming people and people who see the world in a way that I think corresponds with what this panel was discussing. So thank you, Najauna. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, David and Explore Brookhaven for sponsoring this. Thank you to all of the sponsors of the virtual summit: Offbeat Travel, Pick LJ, Miles Partnership, Visit Greater Palm Springs, Explore Brookhaven, and Visit Lauderdale. The inaugural awards dinner was mentioned. We didn't explicitly make the point that our friend Stacy Ritter is our honoree. So for all of the wonderful work she is doing and bringing Visit Lauderdale to this work as well, we are honoring her. So come for the awards, stay for the Stacy. Thank you, Stacy, for being a part of that inaugural dinner. CDTP was mentioned. If you want to know more, there's info there. Reach out. It's our highest level individual certification. And to Ami's point before, this is the first time that we are giving an option to either be part of the full cohort or to time it out yourself, where you could do one or both workshops and then at a later date make your comprehensive DEI plan. So we're expanding the options on that. As always, we welcome donations to continue our work, especially the Future Travel Leaders program that we're building for 2025 for young people in New York, starting there. So quickly, I want to tell you about what's coming up later this week. Tomorrow, I'll be moderating a session, Justice, Decolonization, and Empowerment. So if this wasn't DEI enough for you and controversial enough for you, there's some words that don't always get talked about in this industry. Thank you to Harry and Offbeat Travel for sponsoring that. And the other session we'll have tomorrow is actionable advocacy. So for you individually and within your organizations, how do we go beyond this sort of slacktivism? What are things we can actually do for these communities we're looking to engage with? I've already talked from a marketing side, but from more of an expansive point of view, what more can we do on that? So that's what we'll find tomorrow. And looking forward to that. And Wednesday, we will have our friends from Coraggio and Visit Detroit speaking about about the DMO side of things. So thank you again, and we'll see you all tomorrow at 1 Eastern.
Bye, everyone. Happy
Thank you,
birthday,
Ronnie.
Ronnie.
Thank you,
everyone
guys.
so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.